My whole life actually has been a real journey of actually being carried on the discipline and on the energies of those that are around me. And it was only as I got older and I got more disturbed with mental health issues and drug abuse and all these kind of things that I realized that my association, so the people that I'm around, are really important. I wasn't around this kind of structure, so I found myself just in the ocean of other people, friends who actually didn't have that foundation when they were young. So as I got older, really now suffering suicidal, suffering from mental health issues, and we're talking like the uni age. More recently, let's say when I got to about 25, 26, did I start to really access my own choice. What do I really want to do? What am I obsessed with? And I really became obsessed with frequency and sound, and sitting for long amounts of time meditating, listening to the solfeggio frequencies, which is what I work with at the moment.
I get a lot of pleasure out of observing, and sometimes I get more pleasure out of, I was about to say something and then someone else says it instead, and I'm like, oh, maybe you thought about that because I was thinking about it. I'm so happy just observing and not saying it because they've said it. That person's like, say, really desperate to talk, and I witnessed that and I'm like, have your time. And the beauty of seeing somebody talk, and I can see that they're desperate to be heard, and I'm like, I've been heard, I can plant that thought to the side, it doesn't matter anymore. And I'm just aware of myself wanting to say something, was about to say something, but instead giving that person time to say something.
Just quickly, I just want to say a massive thank you to everyone who still listens to the podcast. I started 4 years ago, and since then I've had over 1 million downloads. I get 5,000 downloads per month, and I've had over 200 different guests. So a massive thank you to everyone who still listens. If you could please do me a favour, if you could rate and review the podcast, that would be amazing because it helps get the podcast out to new, conscious people like yourself. And my goal is to awaken as many people around the world. You can also follow me on Instagram. It's Yes King Oliver, should you wish to see what I get up to on my day-to-day moments. Back to the episode.
So growing up, I used to be obsessed with like routines and having things in order because my brain would get comfort knowing that there's structure. And as a kid, I had no structure. Everything was just chaos. And there was just so many thoughts in my head that I really had no discipline with my life. And so when I was younger, I started to implement very strict routines where I'd be obsessed. Like I would do meditation every day at the spa, in the sauna, in the jacuzzi, and I wouldn't do anything else other than that. And once I'd done that, I'd go to the field and I'd do my hour walk. And then once I've done that, I would then go to the gym. And I'd be very strict with all of these practices. And as life is getting busier and I'm slowly starting to not do this as much, my body is feeling not at ease as it used to be. And it's just a reminder that all these practices we put in place are so important, and you only realize like what it's like when you don't have them, when you don't do them. So you've got to like do it and lose it to have the to recognize the difference of how life feels with these practices and how life feels without them. And it doesn't really matter what else you do in your day if you've done those main things, because that's like the source of life, which is pretty much what everyone's done forever. And life these days is so complicated where we're distracted by that stuff and we're not focusing on the basics. But if you get the basics right, then it doesn't really matter what else you do because you've got the like basics of grounding and coming home.
Yeah, I fully agree. I think for me, my life has been coming back from when I was young. It's been very passive in the fact of like my grandmother had a strict spiritual practice, and I was just there witnessing her spiritual practice, witnessing her get up every morning at 3 a.m. because I was going for a late night toilet, and just being like, whoa, just seeing her there in deep, deep meditation and being kind of intrigued by it, but not feeling as though that was what I was meant to do. So my whole life actually has been a real journey of actually being carried on the discipline and on the energies of those that are around me. And it was only as I got older and I got more disturbed with mental health issues and drug abuse and all these kind of things that I realized that my association, so the people that I'm around, are really important. You know, that thing where it's like you are the 5 people that you are closest to. And as I obviously left the family home and wasn't around my grandmother because she moved to Spain when I was 10, I wasn't around this kind of structure. So I found myself just in the ocean of other people, friends who actually didn't have that foundation when they were young. So their foundations were watching TV. And yes, I did have this too. But my dad was very strict. I was only allowed to watch TV when I was 15. He was very strict in what I watched and when I watched it. And that was, again, a structure, but passively given to me. So as I got older, really, really now suffering suicidal, suffering from mental health issues. Now we're talking like uni age, so like 18, 19, that I started to realize like I was constantly crying out for that external guide, that external authority to discipline me and to structure me all the time. And meanwhile, connecting with people such as my ex, who was a Kundalini yoga instructor, and having a proper discipline of getting up and doing Kundalini yoga and breath work. And again, I was there, so I was doing it. And more recently, let's say, when I got to about 25, 26, did I start to really access my own choice, my own willpower to be like, actually, what do I really want to do? What am I obsessed with? And I really became obsessed with frequency and sound, and sitting for long amounts of time meditating, listening to the solfeggio frequencies, which is what I work with at the moment. And that discipline, like you were saying, is so important to, I love to like wake up in the morning and just hit a tuning fork and connect to that resonance, because that resonance is a resonance of all life. The earth is vibrating with the Schumann resonance, and we have all of our chakras that have a specific resonance. And when we're out of line with those resonances, that's when we feel disturbed. That's when our normal day-to-day life doesn't flow. So you were saying that when you were in the sauna, when you're doing these practices, that was actually practices that were aligning you to these resonances, to these higher resonances of your higher consciousness and your soul frequency. And so therefore you were feeling at rest, you were feeling aligned, and you were able to do the things that you were doing. So yeah, same for me. Like, I'm human. I go in and out, in and out. And that's, where I'm honestly at the moment. It's not so easy.
It's interesting you say about the solfeggio frequencies, because I too used to just play, like, I'd be in my room, I'd be in the house, my parents would be at work, and I just have my speaker playing this high-pitched sound, and it would just take me into another world. It would allow me to access like consciousness that I could only really access with this help for the frequency. And if I was on a train or on a walk, I would just play it. And my mum would always be like, "Can you turn off that stupid noise?" And I'm like, it's healing cancer. Like, you need to listen to it as well, right? So, and I used to, that used to comfort me so much. And I used to fall asleep with that. I used to have that sound playing from my phone. Little did I know about having phones close your head on charge, before I knew that shit. But I used to fall asleep with, I'd wake up in this like really heightened state of awareness. It's almost like, imagine being so grounded and so deeply in a meditative state that you can hear sounds, because you've now become like attuned to the frequencies in the atmosphere based on hearing that sound all night. And like with the meditation, I only realize how like anxious I am if I don't do it. And I did it every day religiously. It was the stretching, it was the meditation, it was the breath work, and it was the ice bath. I move out here, everything goes, you know, so busy here. And it's just like a reinforcement of going back to what we used to do. Like you mentioned about the frequencies. I literally 2 days ago was going to have a shower and play the 528 hertz, because I used to shower every morning with the, because it would charge the water would go into my body would become that hertz. I did that every day and I've lost it. So the fact that you mentioned that is like my download to get back into that, as opposed to listening to like just Radio 1. Get back into that state that really makes you connect to yourself, the energies and the frequencies. So that's a nice download.
Before coming to you right now, I literally listened to 5.
Did you?
Yeah, just to
528.
Yeah,
that's the favorite one for me.
Exactly that one.
Yeah.
So you know, when you are in coherence, when you are in this alignment, everything around you resonates. Like I was just saying before we pressed record, it's like if you don't do those practices and don't do that resonance, even the people, the beings that you are meant to align with and connect with, there'll be some distortion, there'll be some block and veil, you could say, that you know that there is clarity, there is connection, like we have with everyone, really everyone. But more and more people are waking up to the fact that we have to do these practices, the yoga, the meditation, the breath work. But those that aren't, all there is just an incoherence from their mind and their heart and their body. I'm a mover. I love to dance. I love to do yoga as well, as you know.
Yes.
And I find that sometimes I don't want to talk. I don't want to communicate a lot all the time, you know, about what I'm feeling, what I'm going through, because then you can create a story.
Yes.
And there is something so intrinsic with just moving the body, getting into dance, getting into your own rhythm. Rhythm is frequency, it is vibration, it's particle, it's wave, right? So I love that. And I love that you've always done that in such a disciplined way. And it's actually really inspiring for me, someone who has always been a very like in and out in and out with my practices. So it's really important, yeah, to like anchor them in and see them as the most important things, really, before you get on with what you need to get on with the day, because life has to keep moving, you know.
Yeah, you mentioned like, you know, how you are human and sometimes you just can't be bothered to meditate and get in the ice bath. And I think that's important to not be so hard on ourselves. You know, I like, for example, if I want to go in the ice bath, I'm going to go in the ice bath. If for whatever reason I don't, and I now make myself go in the ice bath, I'm going to have resentment to the ice bath. Which means next time I'm going to think of the resentment I had and the fear and I didn't want to do it. Whereas if I don't want to do it, I just don't do it. And then the next time I think about doing it, I just do it. There's no blockage. There's no fear. There's no anxiety. There's nothing negative. It's just like this constant flow of positive and being in harmony of what you want. If you give yourself something that you don't really want, you're going to resent it. If you have too much, say, chocolate, and you feel sick, you're going to resent it. So I've always let my body decipher. My brain knows it's important to do the ice bath and have discipline, but my body, if it says, I don't want to go gym, or I don't want to go in the ice bath, don't. Because at the end of the day, if you're doing the whole thing for, say, overall health, as long as your health is benefiting overall, it doesn't matter whether you do it 3 times a day, 3 times a week. It's the reason why you're doing it. And not doing things all the time, every day, because it's routine, allows you to recognize the difference, which then confirms this is why you should be doing these practices. So now it becomes even easier to get out of bed and meditate and do breath work and do ice bath and sauna, because you actually really, really, really want to do it, rather than doing it because you should be doing it. Like my mum, every morning she does her exercises and her Pilates. I've never seen her miss a day. She's so disciplined and so in routine that before work, she does her exercises, she does her routine in the lounge. Just like she say, we'll clean the fridge out every Tuesday and do the cupboards every Wednesday in the bathroom, every whatever. Routine discipline. And I look at that and I say, wow, that takes such a mindset to Like never miss a day, no matter how much sleep you've had, how stressed you are, how much stuff you've got to do, you still do it. And there's me floating around. Don't want to do the sauna, I listen to my body and I do it tomorrow. But then I compare it with my mum and it's like, well, you can't override that negative mindset. It's just,
but is it negative?
what's the like?
Is it negative? Because so this is what I want to throw in here, is like the spiral nature of life and presence rather than the linear doing continuously. So you have an inhale and you have an exhale. And if you're constantly inhaling, at some point you're going to have to exhale and something has to give. So it's really actually, yeah, about listening to your body, but are you so attuned to what's speaking to you? For example, is it the voice of laziness, or is it the true heart connection, body connection that is like, I've done enough, and there is a stress that I'm putting that is too much. And so now I'm honestly, in a grounded way, going to listen to that and respond to it and then activate again when the natural energy to activate is there, you know. So it is the inhale and the exhale, it is the yin and the yang of life. And to be completely balanced and vibrating highly being, I do think there needs to be that yin and the yang and that balance. I have never been a person, I rate your mum and I rate, like I said, your diligence to see that and be like, yeah, that's amazing, and I'm going to continually do that. But it's something that Krishnamurti actually said, that when he was being artificially turned into this yogi, he was doing the yoga, his ashtanga, everything, every day, all the time for years and years and years. And he came to the realization that, really, am I fully completely listening to my body? Or am I in the dutiful dharmic way of being, of like, this is what I do, this is what I maintain to do because it gives structure. I think we really need that. Like, the world so much is lacking the Shiva, which is this structure, is the boundaries, is the masculine discipline of like, I'm going to do this and at this time, and I'm going to stop at this time. But the Shakti, the energy, and how the energy wants to move, which is dynamic, which can take you into another space, you have to create space for. And if you're constantly on the track of every day, this time, there's not space for Shakti. There's not space for the feminine energy to shift you into some place new that you've never experienced before. And that is also valuable, you know? So both need to be there balanced, you know?
Yes.
When you feel the imbalance, that's maybe where it's negative, no?
Yeah, so for example, like yesterday or the day before, I was in the sauna, I was getting really hot, I wanted to go in the ice bath. I showered, opened the lid, I don't want to do it. But the day after and the day before, 3 minutes, easy peasy. So you talk about the laziness. Is it because you're lazy? Is it because, is there a deeper reason why you don't want to do it? Or is it just, I'm listening to my body? Let's just say my body has come across a pathogen in the air. It's not a complete flu, but it's small amounts of viruses, right? And my body isn't 100% as it is, because I'm fighting off 2% of some virus I don't even know is there. But if I go in the ice bath, it will take more energy. And so my body needs the energy to, say, fight off a virus, right? Or whatever reason. It could be because I had half an hour less sleep than I normally do, and it takes a lot out of somebody to sit in a cold bath, right? It doesn't matter why. It's just getting into the habit of, my body doesn't want to do it, and that's okay. But as you say, you do need a discipline and a structure, because otherwise, what's the difference between like laziness and not wanting to get out of bed, listening to my body, it wants to sleep in, or like, you know what I mean? It's a fine balance.
You have to find it. And what the thing is this discernment. And discernment actually is, the definition is being aware of patterns, being aware of the patterns of one's nature and how one is moving. That is discernment. So if you have a high level of discernment, which a lot of the time is actually high level intelligent people, high level thinkers, such as yourself, who is meditating, who is doing certain things, who is aware of things beyond the norm, and who is open to the right brain of creativity and balancing that with our logic side. So a being like that, such as ourselves, are always seeing patterns, and finding the connections between patterns, even in different modalities of life, and say, oh, like if when I listen to this music, it makes me feel this way, but actually that might be connected with this astrology. And then but then when I'm in the, if you speak about like that, it's like, okay, what do you want about? But there's a resonance there because there's a part of us that is understanding that there are patterns and there's coherence in things. You know what I mean? There are patterns. And that's how we understand discernment. But discernment is like a muscle, like everything else. You need to work on it. So I feel it's like that ice bath situation you said. It's like taking a moment, which in this fast-paced, lustful life that we have been programmed to be in, we don't give ourselves time to kind of be like, what is actually making me not want to do this ice bath right now? It was in my plan, it was in my mind space
2 seconds
that
ago.
was gonna, and that's what I was gonna do. But then all of a sudden, so let me just sit with that for a second. And we don't even realize that we start getting antsy, and it's like, it's just 30 seconds, just a minute, really, that you could just stop and be like, actually, how does my body feel about this? And things will come up. It will tell you. You will tell you. Oh no, I'm just, well, I do it all the time, and like maybe this one time I just can't do it, and the mind starts to speak, the monkey mind, and so it's so important to catch those moments. Or you might feel into your body, and your body just goes, I'm tired, I'm cold, I need to lie down. There you go. So it's like taking the time within the silence, within the breath, within the space between the breaths, is where we become present, and where we actually can connect with the true truth of who we are, and what we really need in any given now moment. But in this fast-paced life, we don't do that for ourselves. Yeah.
Yeah, so I see so many people say, really, really tired, and they go to work and they're getting on a bit, getting a bit fat, and so they need to start going to the gym. But they're absolutely exhausted, but yet they will still go to the gym because they feel like it's productive, and I said I was going to do it, and I'm weak if I don't do it. And so they will go to the gym, but yet they literally, body is craving for like just time out. And so, for example, they'll go home, and because they're so exhausted, they'll just eat shitty food, right? And the energy that they burn, they put back on. As opposed to coming home from work on the day that you should have gone to the gym but didn't want to go to the gym, and sat there with yourself and just be like, right, I feel like shit. Why? I need more sleep. I need to tell my boss I need to have a day off. And then through doing those things, you'll have more energy next time, which means you'll go to the gym because you want to, and you won't go and eat shitty food when you get back. So the energy you burn won't come back on when you come home. Those days out and time out that we need to give ourselves is extremely important, instead of being seen as lack of discipline or lazy. And I want to try and link that to the projector and manifestator and human design stuff. So growing up, people used to drain me, and I never used to talk unless I was spoken to, and I'd literally just go into deep meditation and literally just fall asleep. I could be at a dinner table, at a party, or whatever, and my brain's not stimulated. I'm listening, and I just want to fall asleep, and I go, right. And I realized through you that there's an alternative. You have to activate a conversation. So it's like, well, how do you do that? Ask a question, enough questions that they might ask questions about you. And then boom, your brain fires up. I didn't know any of this stuff growing up. I had no clue. It was just, I like to talk or I'm not talking. I didn't know there was an in-between, how to activate the in-between. And it's a profound thing you taught me, that people like us need to talk or want to talk, but others who aren't as empowered and confident often want the spotlight, so they will talk, and their lack of awareness of others having time to talk means that we just diminish because we see that that person is craving for spotlight and time,
and also
and we don't care
the way
about
that they function is different, because they're a different energy type,
Yeah.
or design type, so they are, it's not for a lack of awareness, it's just everybody thinks that everyone is like them. You know, like I just think that everyone's the same age as me until you ask them. You're like, oh yeah, you're younger, you're older, you know. So we all have that in us, that we just think that other people are like us. And the majority of the planet are generators, manifestor generators, who have an idea, then they have the energy to go and do the idea, and then they can just say it in a room and people go, yeah, I'm about that, yeah, let's go and do it. Whereas like our energy types is more observant, aware, sitting and waiting to be invited for our direction and our opinion that directs that explosive amount of energy. It's like, wait, hang on a minute. The projector in the corner. What do you think about what we're going to be doing right now? And we'll be like, yeah, I think that's a really good idea. But if we did this and sat for 5 minutes in deep meditation and maybe had a little prayer with each other, we would be more aligned. And then we'll go, yeah, let's do that. That's a bit different, but let's do that. Oh. That is our position. You know, so what I shared with you is like how to create invitation, because people don't function like that. So it's like, oh, can I share something? And normally everyone says yeah, because one, people are loving, people are kind, and hopefully we're in a group of our friends. Yes. So we can happily say, oh, can I say something? You know, and soon as that happens and they go yes, ding ding ding, all of the gates of invitation have been opened, and we can share.
And also what I've realized is that there is, you know, people that say sit back and listen and observe, and people are not oblivious to that, right? And then when that person does often say something, they're listening, and it's either valuable or it's not. So let's just say you're at a conference, someone put their hands up and he's waffling on, he's umming and butting, and you know, so the other day, and it's just like, mate, hurry up, right? Everyone's switched off. And there's some people that you're just locked on, right? There's something about them and what they're saying and how they're saying it. You just, everyone stops and is focused on that person, right? Let's just say that that person is a projector and doesn't say much, but when they do, it's like a killer shot, right? Now, next time that person puts their hand up, they remember, oh, last time that person was here, he was quiet, or she was quiet. But when they said something, it was so profound. And it made everyone, including myself, think. So now we can just sit back and relax and knows that when he puts his hand up, people are listening. And it's not about just talking all the time. It's about like only saying what's necessary. And as somebody used to just like want to be heard so badly, I would just talk just for the sake of talking to be heard. But it's not, it wasn't being heard. It was like I was being seen, but I wasn't truly being like heard with what I was saying. And so as I listen and observe more, you get the answers that you would otherwise ask and say. But because you've got so much information from listening, you now can like articulate a specific question that probably everyone else is thinking as well, because you've listened. And then you can like just say something, and it's often more profound than just speaking all the time.
Yeah, and as projectors as well, it's like it's annoying. I will have to say, like can be frustrating to know that you have to wait for an invitation, but also the invitation can expire.
Yes.
You know, so you can feel as though you're speaking, you're sharing, and then somebody will just glaze over and their capacity will go, and you will now be back in the shadow and the veil will descend, you know? And it's about sensing that, feeling that, being aware of that. And so that we don't get bitter, because that's our shadow thing, is that then we build resentment and bitter because like, why no one listened to me? No one's listening to me, and I've got so much to say, and you know. But it's actually because we weren't attuned to the moment when the other disconnected from the information, and the invitation was declined at that point, when they were like, okay, I've had enough of the information. You know, one thing I found about projectors is actually like our codex, our way of being is completely of service. Like we can't not be of service because of that fact. We have to be invited, you know what I mean? Like we have to be invited into the space, onto the round table of discussion, so that we can share our information, because it's so penetrative, it's so fine-tuned, it's because of our awareness is so vast, and the way in which we are tapping into other people's energy fields as well, into their auric field, and we're seeing this and we're seeing that and we're seeing that, and also we're seeing things about them or about a situation that they don't even see. So can you imagine how overwhelming and abrupt that could be to other human design types? You know, it's a lot. So there is a fail safe in our creation, that is the invitation part. If we didn't have that, oh my gosh, we would take over the world.
Yes.
If we didn't have the, oh, you need to be invited, there
Yes.
would just be this like bombardment, and it would just, everyone would be like, oh, I wasn't ready to see that about myself, but I know you're right. And
Oh,
also
God.
sometimes as well, it's within the name. Projectors can project.
Yeah.
And that's another shadow aspect of us that we need to be wary of. It's like, we can, depending on our own health of emotions and mental state, we can, I've done it a lot, sadly, in my life, where like I've gone into a bit of a mental tizzy, and I've been like, but you're feeling this and you're doing this, and this is actually what's happening in your life, because I'm projecting. Like, I actually am projecting. So it's really important for us to drop into our center and to be balanced and in coherence, in mind and heart coherence, doing our practices, being rested because we don't have the same amount of energy, and then realizing, am I actually feeling this person? And do they need to hear? What is the invitation open for them to hear this? Easy peasy. How do I do that? I have something that I would like to tell you. Would you like to hear it? Or I'm sensing something about you. Would you like to know? Boom, that's it. And then they'll be like, oh, yeah, yeah. Oh, I feel safe to hear that. Cool. Then we can share it, you know?
So that's literally my next question, which is what techniques can you share to projectors? So you've just said that rather than just saying, by the way, you know, you need to deal with this because of this and this, it's, do you mind if I say something? Yes. Have you tried doing that? Because I can see that, you know, you're walking around the building a bit lost. Maybe just like sit down and close your eyes rather than trying to sort of find out where you're going. Because if you just sit with yourself, you might get the answers. So asking, can I share something is a massive thing. What other one? Or is there more? Was there a few?
Yeah, asking, asking for permission. So asking to create the invitation. Don't
Yep.
wait for the
Okay,
invitation.
because it won't come.
It won't come. No, it will come. It will come. Oh, that's another thing I didn't say. It will come when, this is the main key for projectors, is we have to always be showing up. Always be showing up in our complete self, you know? And that comes from being rested, being with ourselves, being in our own sacred space, making sure that we've eaten, that we've slept, we've done our spiritual practices. Then when you step out into the world, you're just there showing up as your complete amazing self. And then the right people will see you sitting in the corner and come over. They'll feel that. They'll feel your essence and your resonance, and they'll come up to me like, hey, like, I feel like I need to talk to you. That's happened to me before. Someone's literally just said, I feel like I need to talk to you. And I've been like, right, you know? Or they've been like, oh, and they'll just start talking it to me. Like, I must just start talking and asking questions. And I'm just like, oh, okay. So, and then, you know what I mean? Time to, yeah, time to do what I do. And that is it. So there's, but the thing is sometimes it is frustrating because we have more to give. And again, going back into what I said before about the patience key, is like, actually, do we have the patience to sit in our radiance, in our complete leadership, in our complete sovereignty and divine power of who we are, to wait for the right people to come and be like, yeah, I want to work with you. Yeah, I want an energy healing with you. Yeah, I feel like I need to be on a real podcast, and I want to work with you. Like, can we wait? And that's the one thing as a projector is waiting, is waiting if we don't want to, you know.
So what came to me is, are you saying that essentially, if you're a person who does gigs, you got to keep getting new business, going into pubs, giving up business cards. They know that they're there. They know you're there. They've seen you. So next time they'll be like, hey, are you doing a gig? Do you want to sing? If we're not asking for the invite, we're just bloody donkey in the room. As far as they know, that donkey just doesn't talk. It's just there, right?
You have to show up.
So no one will ask
yeah,
questions and no one will engage you, because you're just a fucking autistic person in the corner saying nothing, right? Instead of, oh, no, I'm not autistic. I'm well aware. I'm waiting for the invite. But you're saying you've got to keep asking for the invite. Then they see, oh my God, that person just said some amazing stuff. So the next time they remember that and they go, what do you reckon? You're showing up, giving that business card. You're showing up, giving that business card. So that's the mistake that I made my whole life. I'd wait for ages for someone to ask me about me and I can, talk about everything. I didn't. So I went home. And I didn't have friendships because I just wasn't my full self as a projector. So I would rather sit in bed and just like meditate or go to the spa and meditate, right? But you're saying it's very important to continuously trying to activate the invitation because if you don't, you become stagnant and people forget you're there.
You're saying, but also be the invitation. What I mean by that is be it like a beacon, like a lighthouse, so that people can't avoid you. It's not active. It's passive in its nature. The projector is passive in its nature. It's the active thing is the hack that I talked to you about. So the hack is asking a question. You know what I mean? So like, I see that you like tea. Would you like to know what I know about tea? And you might be like, yeah, I like tea. Okay, yeah. What do you know? See, I've created the invitation. I've created that you've asked me. Or I could sit here with a lot of different herbs and teas and just start in my own world making an amazing brew. And you see, in the passive way, I'm showing within my opulence, within my complete being, that I'm about this tea.
Remember, someone walk past and goes, what tea is that? Oh, thank you, finally!
Yeah.
Finally, hi, I'm Jaffa.
Yeah.
Let me tell you about this.
Exactly.
Man.
So that's the thing. It's being it embodied all the time, showing up as that and living that. And that's the most important thing. As myself with a background in performing arts and music, it's just continuously writing songs, continuously sitting there and playing. I wasn't going up to somebody and going like, do you like music? Would you like to hear me sing a song? You see what I mean? It's like that's creating the invitation. I didn't. I just was music. I just put out songs. I just was it. I made an Instagram. I had a YouTube. I had a MySpace. I did the things that made made me a role model or brought me into the public eye. Whatever field, like obviously I'm in the artist field, but you could be in any business field that you can do this in. When you're in your job, in your office, just doing your work, showing up, making forms, making spreadsheets, being the thing that you want your manager or your boss to see that. And they will see that you're constantly doing that. And if they're aligned with you, this is a big thing. If they are aligned and they are in heart-brain coherence and resonance with you, they will go, hey, and give you the opportunities that you require. So for us, it is a bit of a waiting game, but we are waiting in our complete radiance. So it's not even boring. It's fun because you're being you, and like that's the best thing is to just be you.
That's really interesting because essentially, like, I get a lot of pleasure out of observing. And sometimes I get more pleasure out of, I was about to say something and then someone else says it instead. And I'm like, oh, maybe you thought about that because I was thinking about it. So now I'm like, just sort of sitting in the feeling of, wow, energy, thoughts, vibrations, everyone's picking up each other's stuff. Don't need me to say it anymore. And so I'm so happy just observing and not saying it because they've said it or that person's like, say, really desperate to talk. And I witnessed that and I'm like, no, have your time. And the beauty of seeing somebody talk and I can see that they're desperate to be heard. And I'm like, I've been heard. I can plant that thought to the side. It doesn't matter anymore. And I'm just aware of myself wanting to say something, was about to say something, but instead giving that person time to say something. Now, I could interrupt and be like, actually, I was going to say something, but go, nope. And just being in that home of, this is the state I'm normally in, which is just observation and waiting, to the point where you don't need to talk because you're in that home stage, you say. So that's really powerful.
Yeah, you're in your radiance, you're in your power of what you enjoy, and that's great. That's okay. And there will be that moment when suddenly, and it's happened to me in groups of friends where like I'm actually just so comfortable just being me, being in my completeness, and then someone go, oh, Japa, like, what do you think about that? And I'm like, Well, da 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 da, you know.
I just thought you'd ask.
Yeah, and the whole
a PowerPoint presentation.
and it's great. It's a great feeling. And then when it ends, and then I've said what I said, everyone goes, yeah, thanks for that. Actually, that was that, like, I really resonated with that. And then the conversation continues. Beautiful. That's just our position. You know, I remember when I first read about a projector, I was like, no, what? You have to wait. And no, I want to be a manifester. I want to have this energy. And I just realized that actually we're a part of a larger organism. We're a part of a bigger body, the human body and the community body, you know? And so everyone is needed, for their strengths and their weaknesses are all needed. So if I stayed in that mindset of like, oh, I don't want to be a projector, I don't want to wait for invitation and all this kind of stuff, then I wouldn't be showing up for the larger organism, for the larger community, and having my seat at the table. There would just be an empty space, and everyone else that I think I want to be like will be like, well, we need this person, we need this piece to the puzzle. The wheel isn't turning, the machine isn't going, it's not running, because this person is trying to be someone else, you know. And that alludes to the thing of like, be yourself, you know.
Yeah, and like the need for the balance. Like, you know, someone's got to kind of watch a distance. It's almost like you've got a load of like children, right? And they're all just sort of running around and having fun, but the parent is sort of keeping an eye on them, you know, and if they do hurt themselves, the parent comes in. Someone has to keep an eye, basically, the projector, witnessing and observing, calculating everything. Jap has been in the corner for 3 hours, observed 3 hours worth of information, waiting for the person to be like, Jappa, you're here, what do you think? Presentation comes out. Well, actually, 3 hours ago, I observed this, right? And then you've got like this whole thing about, fuck, man, like, how did you absorb all that? Like, how? And it's just like, you just see everything, right? Yeah. What makes somebody a projector or manifestor? Is it the planets?
Well, yeah, this is where
Can you change?
I'm not, no, like, I don't think it's not something that like through mind power and deep awareness you can shift your energy. It's like a deep thing of how, I don't really know the complete information about it, but my basic knowledge is that it's something to do with how your energy body and how your chakras and information are flowing. And that's very, very innate in our being and what we incarnated to be as. You can't change that. It's a very kind of like fixed kind of thing, because it is to do with energy flow and how that works within the body, within the meridians, I can imagine. Or but now, yeah, I'm going into a territory that I haven't got amazing amounts of information on.
If someone's 5 years old, can they find out they're a projector?
Yeah, because it's the same as astrology. It's just you type in you go onto the website, human design. There's many human design websites. You put in your date of birth and your time of birth, and it will give you your human design and other information on there, and then you'll know.
See, if people like knew this when they were young, right, which taught them how to interact in a social situation, the whole world would be completely different.
It's true.
You have the different people in power, different people in businesses at the top. Essentially, you're following your path.
You know, yeah, but businesses work better. So I've seen so many YouTube videos of like how in the workplace a projector should work, or how in the workplace a manifestor generator should work. There is so much information out there now to help people to understand how to position themselves and how to work. Like, what is the best daily routine for a projector or a manifestor or a generator? You know, what is how do they stay optimum in the work scene? You know, the workplace. Yeah.
Like, you know, you're saying that eventually bosses and companies will be like asking not what uni you go to, or, you know, stupid nonsense questions, and instead it'll be like, what human design are you? And then be like, actually, we need a leader for this role, and we don't think our manifest generator is going to be right for this, but we've got another role, which is a creative role, and we know projectors are going to be not as good at that, and generator manifestors are good. And so you'll give people their roles based on their human design rather than their sex, gender, and qualifications, because it all means absolutely fuck all.
Yeah, I feel that way about astrology, even still with astrology, you know, like, and I have a beautiful friend who is an English teacher, and she teaches like high school, primary school. Yeah, I think it's high school level kids. And she actually split her class up into their astrology, and found that they were working a lot better because she had the Aquariuses over here, and and she knew how to talk to them in their specific groups. And when she told me this, I was like so happy, but also so annoyed, because I was like, oh my God.
Where was this when I was younger?
Exactly. I was like, what? I want you to be my teacher. Like, that would have been so, it would have been so helpful. So yeah, like exactly what you're saying. Yes, we are coming more and more, hopefully, to having that in schools, and having children be taught in these specific group settings, so that they can get the best out of how they function, their mind, and who they actually are.
If you had one day left to live, what is the one thing that you would tell the rest of the world?
Whoa, if I had one day. Don't take yourself too seriously. Smile even when you don't want to smile, because you'll find that it will lighten the mood.
But don't go in the ice bath if you don't want to go in the ice bath.
Yeah, don't.
And do you want to promote or plug anything?
Yes, if you are interested in following me, if you're interested in actually the solfeggio healing frequencies, like we talked about in the beginning of the podcast, about connecting with these frequencies that just bring you into beautiful coherence, into clarity, into peace, that are super healing, you can check me out on japadasi.com. That is japadasi.com. And yeah, you can connect with me and we can have a consultation. Yeah.
Thanks for listening. If you like this episode, please remember to subscribe, turn the bell notifications on, like the episode, and comment below. And if you want to follow me on Instagram, it's YesKingOliver. Take a look at the other videos to your side. And if you just want to listen to this podcast, you can do so on Apple and Spotify and most other platforms by going to talkwitholiver.com.